In a quiet little town nestled between green hills and golden fields lived a cheerful young girl named Lily. She was known for her smile that could light up any room and her infectious laugh that made everyone around her feel warm. Despite the simplicity of life in the town, Lily had always felt there was something missing. Her parents, humble shopkeepers, worked tirelessly to make ends meet, and while they provided for Lily, there was always a sense that something greater could be done. Lily was content, but she noticed something that troubled her deeply. The people in her town were tired from work, from life's struggles, and from carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. They often passed by each other with dull faces, walking in a haze of routine and monotony. The sparkle in their eyes had long since dimmed, and even the children seemed to play without joy. It was as though the town was in a constant state of exhaustion, as if the warmth of life had been drained out of them. One evening, as Lily sat by her window, looking out over the town, she had an idea. What if she could do something to bring happiness back to the people? What if she could somehow remind them of the simple joys that life had to offer, the little things that could make even the toughest days brighter? Lily had no grand plans, no money, and no powerful connections. But she had something more valuable: hope, and a deep belief that happiness could be found in the most unexpected places. That night, she stayed up late, scribbling in her notebook. She wrote down every thought that came to mind. She wanted to create something that would bring a smile to people's faces. Something simple, yet meaningful. The next morning, Lily went to the town's local market to visit the small shop her parents ran. As she passed the rows of vendors selling fruits, vegetables, and other goods, her eyes fell upon a jar of bright, colorful marbles. She loved marbles as a child and remembered how she and her friends used to play with them for hours, laughing and enjoying their time together. The marbles seemed like a perfect symbol of childhood joy, a tiny, colorful ball of happiness. She bought a small jar, filled it with marbles, and added a label with a simple message: "A little joy in every jar." The idea was simple. She would sell these jars of marbles to people in her town, but with a twist. She wouldn't just sell marbles, she would sell happiness, a piece of joy for anyone who needed it. At first, people were curious but skeptical. Lily set up a small table outside her parents' shop, offering the colorful marbles to passers-by with a friendly smile. "Lily, would you like to buy some happiness? Just a small jar, and you'll feel the joy it brings." Many people chuckled and walked past her. Some didn't even glance in her direction. But Lily didn't give up. She knew that her idea, no matter how small, had the potential to change the atmosphere of the town. After a few hours, an elderly woman approached the table. She had weathered skin, her face lined with years of hardship, and her eyes were dim with sorrow. "Old woman, what are these, child?" "Lily, they're marbles, but not just marbles. They're a reminder to find joy in small things, to laugh, and to smile." The old woman eyed the marbles skeptically, but then reached out and took a jar. Her hand trembled slightly as she read the label. After a moment of silence, she smiled faintly. "All right, I'll take one." "What's the cost?" "Lily, just a smile, ma'am. If you like the marbles, just smile. That's all I ask." The old woman laughed softly, something she hadn't done in a long time. She handed Lily a coin, took the jar of marbles, and walked away, her steps lighter than they had been in years. Later that evening, Lily went home, tired but happy. As she sat at the dinner table with her parents, she couldn't help but think about the old woman's smile. Maybe this was the start of something. Over the next few weeks, Lily's small project began to catch on. Word of the marbles that brought happiness spread throughout the town. More and more people came to her, curious about the little jars of joy. Some were hesitant at first, but Lily's warm demeanor and the simple idea that joy could be bottled up in something so small won people over. Lily started to expand. She added other little items that she believed could bring happiness. Colorful ribbons, small flowers, tiny notes with uplifting quotes, and even handcrafted bracelets. Each item came with the same promise: to remind the people who bought them that happiness could always be found, no matter how difficult life might seem. One day, a mother bought a jar of marbles for her daughter, who had been feeling sad after losing a school competition. She told Lily that her daughter had been feeling defeated, and the smile was nowhere to be found. The next day, the mother returned to Lily's table with a beaming smile. "Mother, you were right, Lily." After she received the marbles, she spent hours laughing, remembering the fun she had as a child, and just enjoying being in the moment. "I can't thank you enough. You've given my daughter back her smile." Lily's heart swelled with joy. This wasn't just about selling marbles or ribbons. It was about giving people the freedom to feel happiness again. It was about reminding them of their worth and the simple joys they had long forgotten. As more people embraced Lily's idea, the entire town began to change. People who had once walked with their heads down began to lift them up. Smiles were exchanged between strangers, and the general atmosphere shifted from one of exhaustion to one of warmth and light. People started appreciating the small things in life: the warmth of the sun, the beauty of the trees, the sound of children playing. Soon, Lily's happiness jars became a regular part of life in the town. People didn't just buy them. They started giving them as gifts to their loved ones, spreading the joy even further. Lily's small idea had ignited a fire of kindness and connection that spread across the town like a ripple on the water. One day, a man from a neighboring city stopped by the town and saw the change that had occurred. He was impressed by the transformation of the people, the warmth in the air, and the smiles that seemed to be everywhere. Curious, he approached Lily. "Man, I've never seen a town quite like this. What happened here? What's your secret?" Lily, smiling. "There's no secret, sir. It's just a little jar of happiness." As Lily's work grew, so did her recognition. Her little jars of happiness became so well known that they reached the neighboring villages and cities. People from all over came to buy the marbles, ribbons, and other items, and to experience the joy that had been spread by this young girl. One day, Lily received a letter from a national charity organization. They had heard of her efforts and wanted to collaborate to expand her mission. They wanted to take her idea to a national level, to spread happiness to people in cities across the country. Lily was stunned but also excited. She had never imagined that her simple idea could grow this big. However, as her fame grew, so did the challenges. People began to see her as a businesswoman rather than a little girl with a big heart. Some wanted to mass-produce her products, while others questioned if her mission was just a marketing ploy. Despite all the attention, Lily stayed true to her core belief that happiness was not something that could be sold in the traditional sense, but shared through kindness and connection. Years passed, and Lily's mission continued to grow. Her happiness jars were in every corner of the country, and she had inspired countless others to embrace the idea of spreading joy through small, meaningful gestures. But despite her success, she never lost sight of her original goal: to make the world a little bit brighter, one smile at a time. And so, Lily continued to sell happiness, not in the form of products, but through her kindness, her generosity, and her unwavering belief that happiness was something that could be shared. Despite the success and growing fame, Lily felt something was missing. The townspeople were happy. The ripple effect had spread, and even people in far-off cities were learning about the joy she was spreading. But as her efforts grew, Lily began to realize that happiness, while powerful, could sometimes be fleeting. She had created an empire of smiles, but she wondered, how could she ensure the joy didn't fade away? One evening, after a long day of working on new happiness items for her jars, Lily sat alone by the window, staring at the moonlit sky. She felt a pang of uncertainty. Is happiness really something you can sell forever? Or is it something that fades when the novelty wears off? She wondered. As her popularity grew, so did the pressure. The business side of things had taken over. She was surrounded by orders, merchandise, marketing teams, and expectations. She began to lose sight of the simplicity of the original idea. The simple jars of happiness. It no longer felt as magical as it once did. One rainy afternoon, a knock on the door of Lily's office interrupted her thoughts. When she opened it, standing there was the old woman from the very first day, the one who had bought the first jar of marbles and smiled, lighting up Lily's world. The woman had grown even older, her face now more wrinkled, her back slightly hunched. But there was something in her eyes, the same sparkle that had been there when she first smiled at Lily all those years ago. Old woman. Lily, I see your name everywhere. Your jars of happiness have changed so many lives. Lily smiled, but it was bittersweet. Thank you, but it doesn't feel as simple as it once did. Everything has changed so much. The old woman nodded knowingly. Sometimes, when we chase after something so big, we forget why we started in the first place. But the happiness you've shared, Lily, that can never be taken away. What matters most is what you choose to do with it now. Lily was silent. Her heart felt heavy with doubt, but at the same time she knew the woman was right. She had to rediscover the joy and magic she had initially felt when all she had were marbles and a simple belief in happiness. The next few weeks were a turning point for Lily. She began revisiting the small things that had sparked her original idea, the simple act of giving, the joy in seeing people's faces light up, and the smiles that could heal a heavy heart. Lily took time off from the business side of things and returned to the roots of her mission. She took walks through the town, spoke to the people who had supported her from the beginning, and even helped them in small ways. Fixing a fence for an elderly neighbor, offering kind words to a struggling young man, or just sharing a meal with someone who needed it. One afternoon, while walking through the park, she met a young girl sitting on a bench, her head hung low. She had the same defeated look that many people in the town once had. Lily approached her gently. "Lily? Hey there, what's going on?" "Why the long face?" The girl looked up, surprised by the stranger's warm smile. "I just feel like nothing ever goes right for me," she said, her voice cracking. Lily sat beside her, pulling out a small jar of marbles from her bag. "Here, take this. It's a jar of happiness. You might be feeling low now, but remember, life is full of little moments that can bring joy, no matter how small. Start with this jar. When you're ready, let the marbles remind you that joy is never too far away." The girl hesitated, but took the jar. For the first time in a while, a small glimmer of hope appeared in her eyes. "Thanks. I'll try." As the weeks passed, Lily's rediscovery of the true meaning behind her project became contagious. People in the town began to notice that Lily wasn't just a businesswoman. She was a symbol of kindness, compassion, and a true sense of community. Lily had always thought that happiness came from a single gesture, a quick fix. But now, she realized it was about creating a culture of kindness, one small act at a time. She organized community events, like neighborhood picnics and free workshops on positivity, where people could come together and share their stories. Lily also began a weekly Joy Project, where she would anonymously deliver jars of happiness to people who seemed to be struggling. She'd leave notes with each jar, urging them to remember the beauty in their lives, even when it felt impossible to see. The town flourished in ways it hadn't before. People were not only happier, but more connected. They began helping each other more often, volunteering, and supporting local businesses. Lily realized that the true happiness she had sold wasn't found in the physical items, but in the hearts of the people who had been touched by her actions. As time passed, Lily's happiness jars continued to be a part of her life, but they no longer defined her. She had learned that happiness couldn't be packaged into a jar, a ribbon, or a piece of paper. It was a way of living, of being present and kind to one another. She had become a leader not by selling things, but by showing people how to embrace the joy that was already in their lives. One evening, as Lily sat in front of the old shop with her parents, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink, she felt at peace. The people in the town were smiling, not because of what she had sold them, but because of what they had found together. She smiled softly to herself, knowing that happiness, like the sun setting on the horizon, was a constant presence, one that would continue to rise in the hearts of everyone she had touched. Years passed, and Lily grew older. Her small town, once filled with weary faces, had transformed into a beacon of hope and joy. People from all over the country visited, inspired by the sense of community and happiness that radiated from this small town. One day, a young girl inspired by Lily's story approached her. She had heard about Lily's journey and wanted to know how she could make a difference in her own town. Lily looked at the young girl with a knowing smile. Start small, do it with love, and remember, happiness is not something we own or sell. It's something we share. The more we share, the more it grows. The young girl nodded, and Lily felt a sense of fulfillment. She had created more than just a business. She had created a ripple of happiness that would continue to spread for generations to come. As Lily entered the later years of her life, she often looked back on the journey with deep gratitude. She had started with nothing but a belief in the power of a smile, and now the world seemed brighter because of it. One crisp morning, Lily sat by her window, looking out over the town. She watched as children played in the streets, their laughter filling the air, and old friends chatted on the benches, reminiscing about the good times. The old woman who had first bought the jar of marbles had long since passed, but Lily still remembered her words. Happiness will always find a way, if you're willing to share it. And so, Lily passed on the legacy of happiness. Through every smile, every small act of kindness, and every simple gesture. She had sold happiness once, but in the end, she had created something much bigger. A world that believed in the power of joy. Her legacy would continue, not through the jars, but through the hearts of everyone who had ever been touched by her spirit. The moral: true happiness is not a commodity. It is an attitude. It grows when we share it, and it spreads when we live it.